I was listening to Captain Blackman yesterday. I like his channel, subscribe to his channel. And he really got me thinking yesterday as he kind of spoke on the fatal mistake that he made. Okay, not fatal. He didn't die. But the mistake that he made by, he was on his way up out of a place where, a lot of us don't make it out of. Don't come from a lot of money, but he had a good job going for him with the cars and all that. And he, we're talking 17, 18, and he, got himself a girlfriend because, he thought that all his friends getting him and all that, and uh, pretty much, because I mean, I don't know him, and I don't know his story like that, but pretty much, he allowed the relationship to kind of interfere with his progress. Let me just say that. And so I actually wanted to speak on why I think a lot of you young cats, 16 to maybe 22, and maybe even older, maybe people my age, like 29. It's crazy to think that I'm just so much older than y'all, but anyway, why I think that you all should put pursuing women on the back burner. And the ultimate thing that led me to want to talk about this is that nerds, not nerds who turn out to be incels late into the 30s and 40s and things like that, but let's just say not even just nerds, but the geeks, the guys that the women never really pay attention to. The guys who really get it, or who are so accustomed to not having attention from women, they found a way to adjust. And how did they adjust? By focusing on themselves, focusing on their careers and all that. So they become very solid men, very solid men. And then what happens is, before you know it, even at 25 years old, they done got themselves a nice ass career. Women checking them out because they've been working on their bodies. They on their purpose. They solid. They real independent. They don't need validation from a woman. And here we go. That's the game. So it's interesting, and I'm sure we all know somebody who was like that. It's just didn't have much luck with the ladies. Probably was scared of them. Probably was an absolute nerd. Probably got straight A's, whatever. Probably got bullied. All of that. Now look at the bullies. Now look at the popular kids, the popular guys, the popular girls. 3 kids, 4 kids, terrible jobs, unhappy. You know, maybe homeless, maybe dead, maybe in jail. But the man who was forced to kind of to stay to himself, even if he was an incel at one point, well, he done came up. Because there's one thing that we don't realize when we're in high school is that, whereas we meet our sexual peak, for a great deal of us, because we're constantly jerking off, squirting, ejaculating. That whereas we might meet our sexual peak in our 30s or something like that, or our 20s, mid to late 20s, we don't really reach our career peak until, like, I mean, come on now, we could be in our 40s, 50s, whatever it is. And so what you want to do is not get in the way of that. You don't want to do things that's going to get in the way of that. You have kids before you are stable, then you may be forced to keep taking, just whatever can feed them, and I mean, as far as jobs go. And that's how you get caught up in that trap, and then you don't necessarily get that chance to grow like you would, or like you could, you know. I had my child fairly later in my 20s, and I was almost 27, and I wasn't financially stable the way I wanted to. I have setbacks right now because there are blocks of times where I can't really be all that productive because I have to watch the child. Okay? And so I'm just letting you guys know that if you don't have to deal with things like this right now, which to me is not really a big inconvenience because I do have help, but I just want to let you guys know if you don't have to deal with things like this, tiny inconveniences or whatever, that you need to take advantage of it. Okay? And I know what a lot of you guys may have to say about this. Yeah, I ended up with a child 'cause having unprotected sex. Yeah, you can wear condoms and things like that. Hey, look, first of all, I'm not policing anybody. Have sex if you want to, ejaculate if you want to. I'm just saying, like, this lifestyle kind of, it can, come with a couple of traps. You know what I'm saying? At the very least, when we talk about relationships, it's one of those things where I don't even want to say at the very least, because I want to say at the very least of the things that can harm you is that you just come with the headaches of having to fulfill the needs of somebody who couldn't possibly understand the grind. Understand what you're trying to uh, accomplish in life. Because I mean, truth be told, you probably don't even fully understand. And I'm talking to young people, but then again, it's people my age, it's people damn near twice my age who don't really know what they want out of life. So you don't want to have that decision taken away from you, you know. And I'm not a fan of men putting their children on the back burner for the sake of careers. So you don't have an option. All right. So if life calls for you to do things that you don't want to do to take care of a child, then you got to do it. All right, because that's the consequences for the choices that you made, and you deal with that. But right now, a lot of you don't have to deal with that. It's just you. It's just you. You can just think about yourself. You can just worry about yourself. Don't get into the trap of the headache of these relationships right now. You know, or at the very least, you know what I'm saying. You can hold out for as long as possible until you find somebody where the chemistry is just optimal. And not just the type of chemistry where it's like, oh yeah, I also like that favorite show. I mean, I also like that show. The show's also my favorite. Or where you kind of bond over trauma and things like that. You want to make sure that these type of bonds correlate with where you both want to go. All right. You want to make sure that the support system kind of covers all bases and it's not based on what's going on right now, this puppy love or lust, whatever it is. But I'm really adamant about that. Um, and if I had to take a look at where I was 17 and 18 and things like that, I wasn't really in a relationship. I know 17, I was coming off a relationship. It was I mean, my depression, I mean, I never knew depression like that till my relationship failed when I was 17. I ended up going to the psych ward. Not because of that, but just later on in that year because I got into a habit of trying to numb the pain, smoking a lot of smoke and doing a lot of over-the-counter pills. I ended up being in the psych ward because of that. And into my 20s, I never really learned my lesson. I made myself entirely too available for women who were trying to figure themselves out, but they were probably doing a better job than me. This lasted for quite some time, man, to my mid-20s. Didn't really understand that. Didn't really understand. I didn't really understand until pretty much after having a child that I should have been putting my purpose first. My purpose over the pursuit of a woman. And I've made myself quite the beta male during these times before I really got it, thinking that the key to keeping a woman was to, be available all the time, say all these poetic words, but really that's a recipe to destroy yourself, you know, because you give them too much of the words and not enough of the action, you really have nothing to show for yourself. And now you got to keep up with all these words. Meanwhile, you're feeling insecure because you got nothing going for you. That's terrible. That's a terrible place to be as a man, to feel very insecure because you have nothing going for yourself. If you, I mean, like, to feel that level of insecurity, you be better off by yourself, bro, because it gets bad. All right, and I hope a lot of you who are listening to me don't know what I'm talking about, and hopefully you will never have to know. But just it gets bad, you know. That's how people get to the point where they be wanting to kill themselves over women. All right, so with that being said, look, man, no need to beat a dead horse or a live one. Just please, be very cautious when it comes to dealing with women, man. Like, please put your purpose first, man. Your priorities first. Women will always be there. Don't fall for the trap. Don't fall for the illusion that people put on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys may be posting their woman on Facebook. Meanwhile, she getting knocked back by somebody else, man. And just I'm not just saying this because I just know this to be true without going into details because I don't know who's watching. I know this to be true, man. So just put your priorities first, put your focus first, put yourself first. Stop putting expectations in people who just ain't your blood, man. Even your blood will disappoint you, but you can't be out here disappointing yourself. All right, so build a solid foundation. All right, do better than me. Do much better than me. Okay. All right, best wishes, y'all.